It's November 29th. I have a strange glare that is right now. Don't know what it's from, but it's a reflection from light somewhere. Anyway, November 29th, 2014. And this is the 7th section in what I'm discussing about government strategies to rape me while I was lying down and to have it not look like rape, have me accept it. And one thing that I have been doing, I think that more clarification will come to me tomorrow, but each day that I've been doing a set of videos about these organized government crimes, the next day I am able to then think about what I talked about and if I missed anything that I might want to add to that. So that is something I will probably do again tomorrow, but while I'm thinking of some things right now, I'd like to add a couple of other things to this. And one thing is that I do remember now the another individual aside from Valentin Guzman who raped me when I was lying down and cut me, who was military and who was Hispanic. I kind of think that it was Alberto Gonzalez. And it was at my aunt's house. So it was an individual who was from Texas, and they had traveled from where they worked in Texas, or lived, and had assaulted me. And I was, at my age at that time, was around between age 6 and 8, but I think it was probably around 7 or 8 was when I got assaulted by him. But I was also assaulted when I was about age 6, I would say, with some government officials that were involved. And persons who I think were standing by at the time included Raul Buhanda. At that time he was Border Patrol, I think, or a school teacher. But that's additional information on some other government employees that actually flew out across several states just to do that to me, and who cut me with a knife. And they had my Uncle Valentin repeat the same thing they did, and he's Mexican. So I think they just kind of wanted a Mexican guy to assault me, who's from my family, and hope that maybe I just remember him and not the government Pentagon employee. But that is one thing that I would add to this. Another thing is that another thing is that some of the other individuals who raped me from a lying down position when I was much younger, and then who repeated this, it was not just at my grandparents' house. There was a large group of individuals from Wenatchee, Washington, involved in that, and who did this from a judge's house, Judge Hotchkiss's house, and from my Aunt Holly's house, Avila's. And their house it's rented, or it's part of a property that Holly's husband, Holly is my aunt, my mom's sister, one of my mom's sisters. And they work on an orchard for a guy where the house goes along with working for the orchard, sort of a caretaker's house, and they've been in that same house for decades. So this orchardist is ultimately responsible for what happens on his property, isn't he? I mean, everybody knows that who's in law school. That he could be held liable for any kind of assault, abuse, and rape or torture that occurs on his property. But it's nice or convenient for him to just say that the Avilas are responsible for everything. But he owns the house, and the entire, it's not like a separate rental unit like someone renting an apartment where the apartment owner is kind of free and clear of most liability that could occur directly in that apartment. I mean, he makes that house part of his payment for work. So it is a business-owned asset that he uses as part of employment pay for the Avilas. And that orchardist, in my opinion, probably has known for a long time that he could be held legally liable. And it's also possible that Pablo, his employee, or the Avilas haven't had another place to go to. I mean, maybe they've chosen to stay in the position they're in. But, you know, sometimes people get stuck in certain situations as well. And it's possible that they've been forced to stay there because they don't have a house outside of that job. And and that property owner has been extremely corrupt, colluding with the government. And as property owner, it's possible, I'm not sure, but it's possible that he may even think that he has legal authority to allow the government to install hidden cameras and other audio and give them free access into in and out of the house. I do know that government cops were going in and out of the Avila's house all the time, and nobody was inviting them over. They were not necessarily just welcome guests. They were acting like all of that turf was their turf. So some of the things that happened at that house when I was a kid, very young, around age 5, and then also repeated again, age 4 or 5, I would say, and then also repeated again when I was older, maybe age 8 to 9, something like that, is a number of Wenatchee individuals and some Seattle individuals were driving over to that house to take turns raping me. And they would lie down on me. I'd have to lay in this bed in a guest bedroom that she had set up, because at the time she didn't have all the bedrooms full of kids. And she had one bedroom set aside as a guest bedroom. And they were going in. I had to lay in that bed, and these different Wenatchee lawyers and judges and Seattle lawyers and judges and cops, a large number of cops and some military, but mostly I would say Justice Department types of people, were going into that bedroom, lying down on top of me, both when I was age 4 or 5 or so, and then also when I was older, and practicing their sex molestation of me under threat of torture and abuse, further violent attacks, like being beaten. I was getting beat up. And when they came in and out, they were one at a time, and it was sort of like 30 minutes for one, maybe 20 minutes for the next one, maybe one was 10 minutes. They're anywhere from like 10 to 30 minutes approximately per person, and these different men were forcing me to touch their erect penises rubbing themselves all over me, forcing me to kiss them, and they were sometimes masturbating themselves as they rubbed up against me, and would ejaculate all over everything. I mean, things were not very clean by the time I got, by the time they had 20 to 30 different employees from the Wenatchee and Leavenworth, Dryden area in that room, ejaculating all over the place. And they were sometimes using towels and then removing a towel for each person. And they started putting towel by towel. The hamper was getting filled up. I was very sick. I really think that they thought at some point maybe they were going to get really lucky, discredit me for all the theft and crime they committed against me, and maybe they could throw me into a whorehouse and have me be a real prostitute. And yeah, I think that was the ultimate for them. But in the meantime, they were going to treat me as a kid, as a little girl who was innocent. They were going to treat me as a little child prostitute in the United States. And all of these people, again, were government employees. And again, I blame, I know without a doubt that their landlord has had a lot to do with this. They would not still be in that same house, I don't believe, if it was not for his government connections and potentially mafia connections. He was getting, he was also helping to direct a drug trafficking flow. And it was also government coordinated. It wasn't like, you know, yeah, mafia gets involved in it and everything, and of course the CIA does, but everyone knows that the CIA is involved in drug trafficking. And, you know, the CIA needs a market, don't they? I mean, the CIA, which traffics drugs over and back and forth and makes some of their money off of it, they need a market. They need people buying from them. So how is the CIA going to keep getting money from drugs? They have to use and work with mafia and regular gangsters to do that. And they have to have a buying group of people. So that's another thing that they were using that house for, is trafficking for the government. And it was not just like some Mexican mafia coming on over, you know, to roll a few joints. It was government. And I'm going to I did not think about this earlier, but I have something that I might have to make another quick video if I don't find it right away, but I'm going to disclose the location of this place that that they have my son held hostage at, which is where the United States government kidnapped my son to go to. And they kidnapped my son. They made it into a big CPS case full of fraud and lies, and and have been torturing my son in the same